Unbelievable moment. Princess Leonor of Spain-Denmark wedding turns into a global fairy tale. It was the royal moment the world had been waiting for. Cameras lined the streets of Copenhagen. Bells echoed across centuries of tradition. Millions watched, expecting grandeur, but no one, absolutely no one, expected what would happen next. Because on that day, the wedding of Princess Leonor of Spain didn't just unite two royal houses. It created something far bigger, a moment so breathtaking, so emotionally charged, that it turned into a global fairy tale right before the world's eyes. Spain held its breath. Denmark stood still. And Europe. Europe felt something it hadn't felt in years, pure, unfiltered awe. This wasn't just another royal wedding. It was history in motion. One the world wakes to a dream. The sun rose over Copenhagen in golden silence. Crowds had already gathered before dawn. The streets shimmered under flags, red and yellow for Spain, red and white for Denmark. It felt like time had slowed. You could hear the hum of anticipation, the faint whispers of thousands holding their phones high, waiting for the first glimpse of Spain's future queen. Leonor, at just 19, was stepping into destiny. But there was something different about her. Something that set her apart from every royal bride before her. She wasn't just marrying a prince, she was rewriting the story of royalty itself. And when she stepped out of her carriage, the air changed. She wasn't just elegant. She was radiant, calm, grounded, almost ethereal. Her gown was a masterpiece. Spanish embroidery kissed by Danish silk, a symbol of two nations joined by love. The neckline whispered tradition, but the design, sleek, modern, daring, spoke of a woman who knew who she was. Even the train told a story, 17 feet long, handwoven with tiny gold threads forming the words, El amor lo puede todo. Love conquers all. The moment she took her first step toward the cathedral, the crowd gasped. Not because of the dress. But because they could feel it, this wasn't duty. This was love. The fairy tale begins. Inside Christianborg Palace, royalty from across Europe took their seats. The air buzzed with quiet emotion. Britain's King William and Queen Catherine sat side by side, their eyes locked on the aisle. Norway, Sweden, Belgium, all represented, all silent. And then, the music began. The sound of the royal orchestra rose through the vaulted ceiling, wrapping every guest in something almost magical. When Leonor entered, Christian's expression said it all. Every camera captured it, his eyes widened, his breath caught. He didn't see a princess. He saw the woman who had changed his life. This was no arranged union, no political alliance. This was a love story that had grown in quiet corners, across borders and headlines. As Leonor reached the altar, Christian reached out his hand, a small, spontaneous gesture that melted even the sternest royal faces. For a moment, tradition bowed to emotion. And everyone knew, this wedding was different. Spain in tears, Denmark in wonder. Across Spain, millions gathered around screens, in cafes, plazas, even schools paused their day to watch. The sight of their princess walking toward her future drew tears, laughter, pride. Queen Letizia, elegant and composed, watched from the front row. Cameras caught the shimmer in her eyes, the mother who had guided Leonor since her first speech, now watching her become a woman the world admired. King Felipe sat beside her, his expression unreadable but proud. This wasn't just his daughter's day, it was Spain's. In Denmark, cheers echoed from the palace gates to the harbors. Locals waved flags and flowers. The Danish people, proud but reserved, had embraced Leonor as one of their own. The union of these two houses wasn't just symbolic. It was emotional. Spain had given the world its future queen, and Denmark, its future strength. For the moment that stopped the world. Then came the moment that would define the day, the vows. As the cathedral fell silent, Leonor's voice broke through, steady, but trembling with emotion. I promise to love, protect, and honor, not only you, but the people we are called to serve. It was simple, honest, human. When Christian responded, his words weren't scripted. He looked into her eyes and said softly, "You're not just my queen. You're my home." Gasps filled the hall. The Queen of Denmark wiped a tear. Cameras flashed like lightning. That was it. The moment the wedding turned from ceremony to legend. No politics. No rehearsed perfection. Just two hearts in sync, in front of the entire world. 5 Behind the fairy tale. After the ceremony, the couple rode through Copenhagen in a horse-drawn carriage, the same used by generations of Danish monarchs. Petals rained from balconies, flags waved, and children shouted Leonor's name. But behind the scenes, there was something even more moving. Inside the palace, Queen Letizia hugged her daughter in a private moment. No cameras, no crowns, just a mother whispering, "You did it. You made history." It wasn't about the spectacle anymore. It was about a new beginning, a bridge between old royalty and the modern world. For years, Leonor had been called the silent princess. But now, she had spoken louder than ever, not through words, but through authenticity. 6 The celebration of the century. The reception that followed was unlike any royal event Europe had ever seen. Tables stretched through golden halls. Candles flickered beside royal china and crystal. The air was thick with laughter, emotion, and music. The first dance was unforgettable. Leonor and Christian moved slowly under a canopy of roses as a Spanish guitarist played a soft melody. The fusion of cultures was breathtaking, Denmark's elegance meeting Spain's passion. Then came King Philippe's toast. His voice steady, his words heavy with pride. "To love," he said, raising his glass, "and to the courage it takes to follow it, even when the crown weighs heavy." Silence filled the room. Then, applause. It wasn't just a royal toast. It was a father's blessing. 7 The world reacts. Within minutes, the internet exploded. #Leonor wedding trended globally. News anchors called it Europe's most emotional royal event in decades. Clips of the vows flooded TikTok and X, garnering millions of views within hours. Even world leaders congratulated the couple. The U.S. President's statement called it a celebration of unity and hope. For a moment, the chaos of the world paused. Everyone was watching one thing: love, royal or not, in its purest form. From Madrid to Copenhagen, the feeling was the same: this was more than a royal union. It was a global reminder of what grace, devotion, and humanity look like when crowned. 8 A new chapter in royal history. In the days that followed, the world couldn't stop talking about it. Magazines called it the fairy tale of the century. Documentaries were commissioned overnight. Royal historians compared it to the great love stories of the past, yet none matched the energy, the emotion, the authenticity of this one. Leonor's choice had shown a new path for European royalty, one rooted in connection, not convention. Even critics admitted it, this wedding had transformed the monarchy's image for a new generation. 9 The night the world exhaled. As the evening drew to a close, fireworks painted the Copenhagen sky. The final image that would go down in history: Leonor and Christian. On the palace balcony, waving to the sea of lights below. Behind them, the royal families stood united. Beside them, history unfolded. But the magic wasn't in the glittering crowns or golden halls. It was in their smiles, real, unguarded, human. That was the moment everyone felt it, the fairy tale wasn't a fantasy. It was real. 10 The legacy of love. Weeks later, Europe was still talking. The world hadn't moved on. Because something about that day stayed with people. It reminded them that even in a world divided by politics and power, love can still bring nations together. Leonor of Spain and Christian of Denmark had done the impossible: they turned centuries of royal formality into something heartfelt, human, and unforgettable. Spain's pride became Denmark's joy. And the world watched as two young hearts reminded us all why we still believe in fairy tales. The wedding didn't just make headlines, it made history. And as Europe exhaled, one truth echoed across the continent: love, when pure and brave, can shake even the oldest thrones. That is why this day, the unbelievable moment when a royal wedding became a global fairy tale, will be remembered not just as a ceremony, but as a story of destiny fulfilled, and love eternal.